Have you ever felt your mind twist in knots after answering a question, only to realize later that the person asking it never had your best interest at heart? Questions are more powerful than we often admit. They seem innocent, even casual, like passing thoughts. But some questions are designed to trap you, to push your emotions, and to steal control without you even noticing. A single question, carefully framed, can make you doubt your own reality. It can make you feel guilty for things you never did wrong, insecure about decisions you were proud of, and second-guess yourself in ways that erode your confidence. Understanding this is not just about spotting manipulation, it is about reclaiming your mind and your life. The moment you recognize the subtle power behind questions, you gain the ability to protect your inner world, your peace, and your sense of self. Most people believe that answering questions is harmless. We have been conditioned to respond politely, to explain, to justify, and to please. When someone asks us, "Why did you do that?" or "Sorry, are you sure about this?" the instinct is to reply immediately, to defend ourselves, to prove our honesty or competence. That very instinct is what manipulators exploit. They know that a well-timed question can tap into our deepest insecurities. It can make us feel exposed, make us feel small, and make us feel like we owe an explanation, even when no explanation is necessary. Each answer you give feeds their control. Each pause you fill with justification strengthens the chains they quietly weave around your mind. But when you learn to see through the illusion, when you begin to recognize the mechanics of manipulation, a shift happens. You no longer react instinctively. You pause, you evaluate, you regain the space to decide what truth belongs to you and what belongs to them. The danger is subtle. Manipulative questions often start with curiosity, concern, or even care. And I just want to understand. I'm asking because I care about you. On the surface, these questions feel harmless. They feel safe. But their real function is far more sinister. They are designed to provoke a response that feeds a hidden agenda. They create self-doubt and emotional turbulence, while the person asking watches, often silently, as you struggle to defend your own sense of reality. These questions prey on the human need for connection and understanding. They exploit empathy, honesty, and the desire to be liked. Every thoughtful answer you give, every careful explanation, is a step deeper into their influence. The reward for recognizing this pattern is immense. Imagine moving through conversations without fear, without anxiety, without the burden of manipulation hovering over every interaction. Imagine the clarity of mind that comes when you understand that no question is automatically your responsibility to answer. Imagine the liberation of knowing that your thoughts, your choices, and your feelings belong to you alone. The T is the power that awareness brings. That is the power that begins the moment you refuse to be trapped by a question. Your mind is not a playground for others to exploit. Every question you face carries an opportunity. It can either take away your power or remind you of the strength you already hold. When you start to notice the patterns, when you begin to recognize the subtle ways questions can manipulate your emotions, you are taking the first step toward a level of self-mastery that most people never reach. You start to respond with intention rather than reaction. You start to reclaim your peace, your focus, and your confidence. The truth is that manipulation thrives in ignorance. The questions designed to control you only work if you remain unaware of their intent. Once you see them clearly, you disarm them. Once you understand how a single question can trigger fear, guilt, or self-doubt, you gain the ultimate reward, freedom. Freedom to think for yourself. Freedom to choose you. Our responses. Freedom to remain unshaken by the agendas of others. That clarity, that mental sovereignty, is what transforms ordinary interactions into a space where you are fully in control. It is what allows you to walk through the world without the silent burden of unseen influence weighing you down. Recognizing manipulation is not about suspicion or paranoia. It is about empowerment. Every question you answer with awareness, every pause you take to evaluate your own truth before reacting, strengthens your inner authority. It trains your mind to distinguish between genuine curiosity and hidden agendas. It teaches your emotions not to be hijacked. It allows you to see not just what is being asked, but why it is being asked. That awareness becomes your shield. That insight becomes your power. And once you begin to wield it, no question, no matter how cleverly designed, can manipulate you without your consent. Have you ever noticed how a single question can make your chest tighten? or mind race, and your confidence waver in a matter of seconds? Why did you do that? It sounds simple, harmless even, but for someone who wants to manipulate, it is a precision instrument honed to perfection. This is the question that liars use to pull you into a defensive posture, to unsettle your certainty, and to make you feel smaller than you truly are. It is not asked out of curiosity, it is asked to provoke guilt, to stir doubt, and to force you to justify your every choice. The person asking does not care about your explanation. What they care about is control. Your emotional response, your hesitation, your willingness to question yourself. When this question lands, the instinct is immediate. NCE grows stronger. But understanding the mechanics of this manipulation flips the script. You begin to see that you do not owe anyone an immediate answer. Your choices, your intentions, your actions belong to you first. They are not currency to be spent on someone else's emotional leverage. The power begins when you pause, when you refuse to react out of fear or guilt, when you recognize that no one has the authority to make you feel ashamed for living your truth. This question works because it taps directly into human psychology. Guilt is one of the most potent tools for manipulation. It bypasses logic and attacks the emotional core. You may find yourself replaying interactions over and over, dissecting your words, wondering if you should have acted differently. In your mind. Recognizing it is the key to dismantling its power. Once you see that the guilt is not yours to carry, that the responsibility they try to impose is theirs alone, the question loses its grip. Your emotional freedom is restored, and with it comes clarity, strength, and self-respect. The intensity of the impact is often underestimated. When someone asks, "Why did you do that?" it feels personal. It feels like an attack. But what is truly being tested is your boundaries, your confidence, and your inner authority. Every pause you take before answering, every moment you use to align with your own truth rather than react to their provocation, is a victory. Each moment of conscious restraint reinforces your mental muscle. It teaches your mind that it does not have to bend under pressure, that it can remain steady and unshakable even in the face of subtle psychological assault. Imagine the liberation that comes from mastering this. Imagine conversations where you are present, where, and grounded, where you respond only when it serves you and your integrity, and where no manipulative tactic can coerce you into guilt or shame. Every interaction becomes a space of empowerment rather than a minefield of hidden agendas. Your mind begins to operate with precision. Your emotions are no longer a playground for others to exploit. You learn to measure the intent behind words, to recognize when questions are tools of control rather than genuine inquiry. That awareness transforms ordinary dialogue into a shielded environment where your confidence cannot be compromised. This is more than strategy, it is a form of mental sovereignty. The moment you stop reacting, each time you observe before answering, you reinforce the truth that your mind is yours and yours alone. The power of this simple shift cannot be overstated. It is the difference between being controlled and being free, between being shaped by external forces and standing firm in your own identity. Your strength grows as you practice this awareness. You notice the subtle tugs of manipulation before they even take hold. You recognize the emotional hooks hidden in seemingly harmless questions, and as your discernment sharpens, you gain something far greater than victory over a single interaction. You gain an unshakable confidence in your own judgment. You become a force that cannot be easily influenced, a mind that responds from truth rather than fear, a spirit that no longer bends to the silent demands of manipulation. And in that mastery, you experience the profound reward of true personal power, freedom, clarity, and the unwavering ability to stand in your own truth no matter the press. Sure around you, don't you trust me? How often have these words been used to unsettle your mind, to make you question your instincts, your judgment, and even your worth? On the surface, it sounds like a plea for faith, a simple request for belief. But for someone who seeks to manipulate, it is a weapon, a carefully crafted phrase designed to create doubt, fear, and emotional dependency. It preys on one of the deepest human needs, the need for connection, approval, and trust. When these words are spoken, a subtle shift occurs in your consciousness. Your mind races, your heart tightens, you start to question your perceptions, your choices, and even your right to stand firm in your own truth. The danger lies not in the words themselves, but in the silent power they carry over your emotions. Trust is a currency that cannot be demanded, borrowed, or coerced. It is earned through consistency, honesty, and respect. Yet manipulators understand that by appealing to trust, they can bypass log and provoke emotional vulnerability. When asked, "Don't you trust me?" the instinct is to defend, to reassure, to over-explain. That instinct is precisely what they count on. Each defense you offer, each attempt to prove your trust, is an entry point for their influence. They want you to feel guilty for questioning them, anxious about the state of your relationship, and insecure about your own judgment. This is a calculated assault on your mental sovereignty, designed to erode your confidence one subtle interaction at a time. The moment you recognize this, everything changes. You understand that trust cannot be forced and that your instincts are valid. The question no longer has the power to dictate your emotions. You realize that defending yourself under pressure is not a duty but a choice. By pausing and reconnecting with your own sense of certainty, you reclaim authority over your reactions. You begin to see that manipulation thrives on your emotional participation, and once you withdraw that participation, the illusion loses its grip. Your mind becomes your sanctuary. Your responses are deliberate. You are no longer swayed by the silent threat of guilt or the hidden pressure of obligation. Emotional manipulation through trust works because it exploits fear, the fear of loss, the fear of rejection, the fear of being wrong. It triggers insecurity in ways that feel deeply personal and immediate. You may start to question yourself, am I overreacting? Is this my fault? Should I just let it go? These thoughts are not accidents. They are the precise outcome the manipulator desires. But there is a profound strength in awareness. Once you see these questions for what they are, tools designed to destabilize your confidence, you no longer respond from fear. You respond from clarity, integrity, and self-respect. You recognize that your emotions are yours to protect, and that no external voice has the authority to impose guilt or doubt, unless you allow it. Imagine moving to rough every interaction with this clarity. You can listen without losing yourself. You can observe without feeling compelled to prove anything. You can feel empathy without surrendering your boundaries. Each time you resist the pull of manipulation disguised as trust, you build an internal armor that cannot be broken by words alone. You develop an unshakable sense of self that stands firm even when others try to challenge it. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You no longer react instinctively, you act intentionally. You no longer give away the power that belongs to you. This mastery is not about suspicion or paranoia. It is about empowerment. It is the understanding that emotional influence is often subtle, precise, and designed to exploit your need for connection. Recognizing the tact with intention and awareness, you reclaim not just your mind, but your emotional freedom. You no longer allow hidden pressures to dictate how you feel or how you act. You walk through the world grounded, unshaken, and fully in command of your own truth. The ultimate power comes from the ability to feel deeply without surrendering control. It comes from knowing that your trust is a gift, never an obligation, and that your instincts are valid even when challenged. It comes from recognizing the silent dynamics of manipulation and refusing to participate in them. Each moment you respond with awareness, each moment you protect your mental and emotional sovereignty, strengthens the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. In this space, the words, "Don't you trust me?" lose their grip entirely, and what remains is a mind that cannot be swayed, a heart that cannot be coerced, and a spirit that moves through life empowered, grounded, and free. Are you sure about that? It seems harmless, even polite, a simple check for clarity. Yet beneath the surface, this question is a precise tool of manipulation, crafted to infiltrate your mind and plant seeds of doubt. When posed with intent, it forces you to second-guess yourself, to question your perception, and to destabilize the confidence you have built in your own judgment. It taps into one of the most vulnerable places in the human mind, the desire to be certain, to be right, and to trust what you know. The manipulator knows this. They understand that even a subtle nudge of uncertainty can create hesitation, confusion, and emotional vulnerability. That tiny question carries enormous weight because it attacks the foundation of self-trust. When faced with "Are you sure about that?" the natural response is to pause, to reconsider, and often to overanalyze. You replay your decisions, your observations, and even your feelings, trying to confirm whether you were wrong. That very process is what they rely on. By inducing self-doubt, they shift the balance of power from you to them. Your confidence begins to waver. Your instincts become clouded. What should have been simple and straightforward transforms into a mental labyrinth where every choice feels uncertain and every thought open to challenge. The manipulator is patient, knowing that each moment of hesitation strengthens their influence while chipping away at your mental clarity. The key to breaking this pattern is awareness. Self-doubt is not inherently dangerous. It is a natural part of reflection, but it becomes a weapon when externally induced to control your emotions. Recognizing the intent behind the question is the first step toward reclaiming power. Once you see that the doubt being planted is designed to manipulate, it loses its potency. You regain the ability to trust your instincts, to affirm your decisions, and to stand unwavering in the truth you know. The strength lies not in proving yourself to anyone else, but in affirming your own certainty, in anchoring your confidence in your inner knowledge rather than in the external pressures of manipulation. Manipulators use this question because uncertainty is contagious. Once you begin to question your own judgment, your thoughts and emotions become susceptible to influence. You may feel a creeping sense of inadequacy, an impulse to seek validation, or a pressure to explain yourself unnecessarily. These reactions are exactly what the manipulator aims for. They want you off balance, emotionally exposed, and mentally occupied with defending your choices. But clarity and awareness act as a shield. When you pause to observe the effect of the question rather than react impulsively, you reclaim the ground that was momentarily threatened. Your mind becomes steady. Your reasoning sharpens. You are no longer a participant in their game. You are the observer, the one who controls your own responses. The power of this realization is transformative. Imagine EVY, aiding every conversation with unwavering confidence, immune to subtle attempts at manipulation. Imagine the liberation of knowing that your perception, your decisions, and your understanding are yours alone to validate. Each time you encounter a question designed to make you doubt yourself and respond with calm, deliberate certainty, you reinforce your mental authority. You train yourself to respond with intentionality rather than reflex. You build a foundation of inner strength that cannot be easily shaken by words alone. This mastery does not require confrontation or hostility. It requires awareness, discernment, and the commitment to protect your mental and emotional space. You learn to recognize the subtle tactics of manipulation without becoming reactive. You learn to identify the triggers that others rely on to create doubt and to consciously decide not to participate in their attempt to destabilize you. In doing so, you cultivate a form of resilience that is both subtle and profound, a quiet confidence that radiates without needing validation from anyone else. Every time you resist the pull of induced self-doubt, you are reclaiming a piece of yourself that was never meant to be controlled by someone else. You reinforce the principle that your mind, your perception, and your choices are sacred. Manipulators thrive on hesitation and uncertainty, but when you respond with clarity, your power is undeniable. You no longer allow your instincts to be questioned, your knowledge to be doubted, or your confidence to be undermined. With each moment of awareness, you fortify a mental fortress that cannot be breached by subtle manipulation. You become unshakable, grounded, and fully in command of your own mind, free to act with purpose, strength, and unwavering certainty. Can you keep a secret? On the surface, it sounds intimate, personal, even flattering. It appeals to your desire to be trusted, to be chosen, to hold something important in your hands. Yet for a manipulator, this seemingly innocent question is a doorway, a subtle method to bind you emotionally, to create unspoken obligations, and to plant invisible pressure that grows over time. It is not merely a question, it is a psychological lever. By inviting you to participate in secrecy, they cultivate dependency, tension, and vulnerability. The moment you accept the secret, you are drawn into their orbit, not because of loyalty, but because they have created a silent influence over your emotions, your attention, and your energy. Secrets have weight. They demand focus. They require protection. When a manipulator places a secret in your hands, they are asking you to carry an invisible burden. That burden shifts your energy, reshapes your priorities, and heightens your emotional sensitivity. You begin to feel responsible for more than you should, as if the trust they placed in you is somehow a measure of your value. Every thought about the secret, every interaction influenced by it, subtly enforces their control. This is the brilliance of manipulation, so quiet, so delicate, yet so profound in its effect. The manipulator does not need to command you, they simply need to create a situation where your mind and your heart are working in service to their agenda without your conscious consent. Understanding this mechanism transforms the way you interact with the world. You begin to see that true strength does not lie in secrecy itself, nor in loyalty alone, but in discernment. Not every request for secrecy is a test of character, and not every confidence entrusted to you is free of hidden motives. The power comes from recognizing the emotional leverage being applied and choosing consciously how to respond. When you pause before accepting such obligations, when you assess the intent behind the question, you reclaim control. You prevent the subtle weaving of influence that can make you emotionally invested in someone else's agenda. Each conscious decision to guard your energy, to evaluate before engaging, fortifies your mind against manipulation. The danger of secrecy lies not only in obligation but in isolation. Keeping a secret creates an internal tension that can cloud judgment and heighten emotional vulnerability. You carry responsibility that is not yours to bear, and the weight of it can erode your clarity and resilience. Manipulators understand that emotional tension weakens defenses. By placing you in a state of quiet vigilance, they ensure that part of your focus is constantly diverted, part of your energy consumed. The key to breaking free from this influence is the awareness that your energy is yours alone, that your focus and peace cannot be borrowed, and that your emotional stability is not negotiable. No secret, no matter how enticing, has the right to compromise your sovereignty. Mastery over this tactic is empowering. Imagine navigating every interaction with unshakable discernment, where you recognize subtle attempts to bind your emotions before they take root. Imagine the liberation that comes when you no longer feel compelled to carry burdens that are not yours. You protect your mind, your focus, and your emotional integrity by observing before accepting, by questioning intent before participation, and by valuing your energy above the illusion of trust imposed by others. Each time you exercise this awareness, your mental fortitude strengthens, and you create an unbreachable boundary that manipulators cannot cross. This skill does not require confrontation or suspicion. It is born from clarity and self-respect. When you respond to the invitation of secrecy with measured awareness, you transform what could have been manipulation into an exercise of empowerment. You maintain your integrity while remaining fully conscious of the dynamics at play. You understand that your consent is the only permission that matters, that your mind cannot be hijacked without your participation, and that every attempt to subtly control you is only as effective as the space you allow it. Through this awareness, you reclaim not only your mind but your emotional freedom. You no longer carry the invisible weight of someone else's secrets. You no longer allow their manipulative tactics to infiltrate your thoughts or dictate your energy. Every time you assert this conscious control, you strengthen your autonomy, sharpen your instincts, and protect your most valuable asset, the clarity and strength of your own mind. In this mastery, the question, can you keep a secret, loses all power. It becomes simply words stripped of leverage, while you remain grounded, unshakable, and fully sovereign in your thoughts, your decisions, and your inner life. Every word that comes from someone who seeks to manipulate carries intention. Every question, every subtle inflection, every pause is calculated to influence your mind and your emotions. It is not only the obvious questions that have power, it is the pattern, the repetition, the consist, and shaping of your reality through carefully placed words. Understanding this is the final key to mastering the dynamics of manipulation. It is the awareness that allows you to observe, analyze, and respond with intention rather than reaction. Once you grasp this, you begin to see every interaction as an opportunity to exercise control over your own mind rather than allowing it to be hijacked by someone else's hidden agenda. Manipulation thrives on automatic responses. It feeds on your instinct to explain, justify, and reassure. The more you react impulsively, the more power it gains. Each question that seems innocent, each probe into your choices or feelings, is designed to pull you into that automatic loop. They want you caught in the cycle of self-doubt, guilt, or fear, because in that state you are no longer operating from clarity or strength. You are vulnerable. Your mind, which is your most precious asset, becomes a landscape of influence that someone else can navigate while you struggle to keep your footing. Recognizing this is not an abstract exercise, it is a practical tool for reclaiming authority over your mental and emotional life. The true mastery lies in the pause, the conscious moment where you refuse to give automatic power to the manipulator. That pause is not hesitation, it is deliberate presence. It is the recognition that your mind is not a playground for others to shape. It is the act of grounding yourself in reality, assessing the intent behind the words, and choosing your response from a place of clarity and strength. In that pause, you reclaim the energy that would otherwise be drained by guilt, fear, or self-doubt. You choose the battle you want to fight, rather than reacting to the battles others create for you. Each moment of mindful response builds resilience, strengthens your emotional intelligence, and solidifies your ability to protect your inner world. The power of awareness extends beyond individual questions. It transforms how, why, navigate every conversation, every relationship, and every challenge. Once you understand the mechanics of manipulation, the subtle ways in which questions can create control, insecurity, or obligation, you begin to operate from a higher level of consciousness. You are no longer easily influenced by carefully designed words or emotional triggers. You see them clearly. You recognize their intent, and in that recognition, their power diminishes. The manipulator's influence relies entirely on your participation, and once you withdraw it, you regain complete authority over your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. There is an extraordinary liberation in this realization. Imagine moving through life fully aware of the forces that attempt to sway you, yet unmoved by them. Imagine conversations where you respond from intentionality rather than compulsion, where your decisions are guided by clarity instead of fear, and where your emotional energy is preserved, not exploited. This is theoretical. It is achievable the moment you commit to observing your own reactions, evaluating the intent behind words, and choosing consciously how to engage. Every time you practice this, you reinforce a mental and emotional resilience that cannot be taken away. Strength is not defined by aggression or control over others. It is defined by sovereignty over yourself. It is the ability to maintain equilibrium when others attempt to disturb it, to respond with clarity when others attempt to provoke confusion, and to stand firm when others attempt to undermine your certainty. Manipulators rely on patterns, on repetition, on the quiet erosion of confidence. But once you understand the strategy, once you recognize the intent behind the words, you become immune. You operate from a place of unwavering authority, unshakable confidence, and absolute clarity. Every word, every question, every subtle influence is no longer a threat, because your mind has become the ultimate shield, the calm. A nation of this mastery is the realization that no external force can dictate your internal state unless you allow it. Awareness is the weapon. Observation is the armor. Intention is the command center from which you navigate the world. Each manipulative question you encounter, every attempt to induce doubt, guilt, or obligation becomes a test of your presence and your authority, not a threat to it. The more you practice this discipline, the more effortless it becomes. The mind that once wavered under subtle pressure now stands unwavering, fully sovereign, fully aware, and fully in control. In this space, you are not just resisting manipulation, you are transcending it, moving through life with a clarity,